Oh yeah.
Singapore.
77.
Wow. 77.
Yeah, episode 77. Go. Welcome everybody.
Hey guys, welcome to Flat Out Fever Podcast.
Episode 77.
Episode 77. That's
Are we-
right.
How are our cameras? Like, are we lined up? Like,
Yeah, we're all right. We had some fuckery about.
Squared up.
See.
Squared up in front.
Yeah, sorry if you tuned in right at 3 o'clock. We are 2 minutes late. Please forgive us.
Sure, there's a worried crowd out there somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure. Buddy, let's talk about what's happening in the world of F1. Because last week we had a pretty good episode with the whole Liberty thing and
Very
all that.
informative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there wasn't a race. But then this weekend we do have the Singapore Grand Prix, which is, I think, one that over the years we've all learned to look forward to quite a bit. I certainly do.
Yeah, I like it.
Is it just because it's a night race, or it's just exciting in general?
It both.
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool
Yeah.
circuit.
Yeah.
Cool city.
Just even if when you start looking into the logistics of how they put this thing together in the first place, man.
Random tourists running across the circuit during the race.
Yeah, goddamn, whatever happened like that. We'll find out. No, but yeah, like, just it takes a city like that. You know, this is in the downtown of Singapore, and I know like to a lot of North Americans at least.
Yeah.
You talk to them and like maybe a little less here in Canada, but like definitely like it's a perpetuated idea that like if you ask somebody like, oh hey, like where do you think that like, you know, the biggest like business cities in the world are, and
You're gonna say like New York.
yeah, New
London.
York, Atlanta, like
Yeah.
if anything, they'll go like as far as say London.
Yeah.
But that's because the name, like to some Americans, like
It's white people there. That's why.
man, like to some Americans, like you probably like they probably say London, but they think that the U.S. is like the London is in the U.S. somehow.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean. But and whatever, like it's to be forgiven. But also, if you like go up to like a random stranger on the streets here in Toronto or like anywhere in North America, pretty much, and you ask them like, where do you think the like gambling capital of the world? Where do you think like there's like the most gambling that happens in the world? You're gonna say like Vegas. What
Las
are you?
Vegas.
Yeah, what are you, an idiot?
Yeah,
no,
dummy.
it's not. Sorry, but it's not. It's like that has long been taken over by Macau, like, and it has been so in the long, for like in terms of number of transactions, games amount betted, like bet. It's all in the East now. That's like there's no going back. And Singapore for a long time had been like a big city, one of the Asian tigers. Right. So it is a big important city in terms of like world trade and all that. And they shut down its downtown for like it's not just the weekend of the F1. They plan for this like a month or two in advance. They start shutting down roads to put the fences up and all that.
Fences. Yeah. Repaint the
Everything.
curbs.
That's their commitment to F1, man.
What is sort of the? Are there grandstands at all? I don't think so.
Yeah,
There's a few.
temporary.
The floating grandstands.
They do have floating.
They float them on the ocean.
Some of them.
No,
I mean,
they
at least the
don't.
one
That's
section.
Look it up. Find some floating grandstands.
That's pretty cool, man.
They float.
But so Singapore like is also like one of three like city states basically that are left in the world. It's a country that's actually just a city, but the city is the country, and there's very good reasons why that is.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So lots of money.
F1 races in two of them.
Yeah, 2 out of 3.
You just need Vatican GP 2017.
One would hope. One could only hope. Or at least like the ring road around the Vatican, right? You know, like or something like that.
Yeah, why not? Disturb Jesus. I'm sure the engines aren't even that loud anymore. Jesus.
Jesus came nowhere near Rome in his like when he was alive. Even if you like consider him as like an actual person that ever lived, and I'm not saying that I don't, but just not to like get into the religious. Jesus didn't even come close to being anywhere near Rome.
If you read about just the historical Jesus, it's a very interesting dude.
Oh yeah. What we know about, what we think we know about.
What is thought to be known.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so this is right down in the middle, like of their downtown. There's clearly, like it keeps happening this year. They renewed their contract recently because it wasn't a flop, and to me, that is actually important. That is one of the biggest reasons why I really like the Singapore Grand Prix, and I think it has something like there's something refreshing about it, and something that like still gives you hope, because even when it's such a recent Grand Prix, it's only been around since 2008. If you go back and you like if you remember some of the things that people were saying back in 2007 when the race was announced or something. Oh, it's gonna be fully at night? You know what that's gonna do to the driving conditions? People are gonna be blinded. There's gonna be so many lights. There's never been a race, and on top of that, it's gonna be a street circuit. You know how boring street circuits are? Yada yada yada. Man, come on! It's been exciting pretty much every year.
These guys, they did get rid of the Singapore sling.
That is one thing. Yeah,
they did get rid of the Singapore sling. I disagree with.
It is so catchy sounding, and that's really. I was about to say it. I was like, I know Singapore sling.
Yeah, well, it's
see if you can find a picture of.
No. I on the links there. I just highlighted. Just put it on. It's a YouTube thing. It's just a fan footage of cars going around. Yeah, don't turn up the volume, but just put it on. Like it was such a quick like corner, and like it requires finessing. Yeah, it was like so. This corner sort of got tamed down for the sake of safety, and they also have made some other modifications, like when it comes to the tunnel.
Where was it here?
It was like actually this one.
Okay. Yeah. Did they put this little kink in it?
No, they got rid of that, so it's more because somehow it had to do with like the way that like when it approached this Anderson Bridge, but I don't buy it. They just like
even the first year that this race happened, the bridge was you could only go like a car and a half wide across it or something like that. Yeah. They had to re-widen it. I think they tried to keep one lane open for traffic, something like that.
Man, this looks like
it's not like that anymore.
I want to play this in Formula One. I'm so excited.
It's a good circuit.
Yeah, that's cool.
And since then
I will when we get more into the.
We're talking about it right now.
We can give it a shot if you guys want to.
Do it up.
Okay, we're going to try to play the Formula 1 2016 by Codemasters.
Which you say that it's actually like looking pretty good. I haven't had a chance.
I've had a great time with it. I spent a good portion last night of my career with Renault. Doing well.
Taking the seat of Jolyon Palmer.
Yeah, well, screw that guy. Okay, hold on. All right, let's see. Hopefully you guys can see what I see.
We're not allowed to show any real F1 video on YouTube. So Mike's gonna video game around the circuit.
We got show you the Vince Labera right now on the chat saying that Singapore is one of my favorite races of the calendar, and mine too, Vince.
Yeah, me too.
Let me tell you another reason why. It's not just because it's easy to say that it's been exciting and whatever, yada yada. Everybody says that, but it's like you can tell that the guys are suffering. Like they're working. They're working for their money, and I can kind of relate, man. Like I am from Colombia in South America. I grew up in the rainforest, so I know that like when it gets hot and humid, man. Like the last thing that you want to do is like be outside. Honest, man. Like you do not. No, these places,
we laugh and scoff.
Well, Singapore looks so beautiful, and there's buildings and whatever, and like if you happen to live in the northern hemisphere in a place that is like typically cold, like Canada, like here where we are right now, you don't quite get like the sense of like what, like how hot it can get and what it being hot outside all the time is like, because it's fucked. It's a fucked up thing, and
it's like hate fucked all the time.
Well, places like Singapore, like people only like really live there year round because everywhere you go has air conditioning. Otherwise, nobody would be there. Nobody would live there for a
whole
question.
Year. What team are we driving for?
The yellow guys again. I don't know. Whatever.
Renault, sure. Why not?
Let's do Renault.
Okay. Why not?
Let's see what we got.
Vince Labera agrees. F1 2016 is a good game.
Ooh.
And he also does Palmer
Oh,
Seat.
midnight? Are we doing midnight race?
Doing.
Oh, hell yeah! Let's do it, boys.
But it's a true challenge, man. Like when you're out there and it's hot and it's humid and you have to, like, on top of that, be in an F1 car, which we already know that it's a furnace at best in any other condition.
Yeah.
These guys are in there, and it's the longest race time-wise of the year, so they're in there strapped and they're suffering for 2 hours.
That stupid 2-hour rule. I think it's 4 out of the last 5 of these Singaporean Grand Prix have reached that 2-hour mark.
3 out of the last 4, but yes.
3 out of 4, there you go.
Yeah. And, like, it'll be like the 4th this year.
It's obviously going to happen
This
again.
is my first time driving this, so excuse me.
Can you turn it down a little more?
Yeah, is that a little high?
Oh, just a little.
A little low or too?
Just turn it down a little bit. But yeah, no, it's a great track. Last year we had that funny incident with the fan walking onto the track.
Yeah, ended up getting about 6 months in jail. 6 months in jail for that.
6 months.
Yeah.
6 months.
Well, Singapore is like a country that like could fine you $1,000 for just like straight up littering, for like, you know, dropping dropping the butt of your cigarette on the sidewalk.
For those that didn't see the race last year, or if you missed this somehow, somewhere around like the 40-some, 50-some lap, this dude, a British guy who's on vacation down there for the race, he said that he was trying to film the fast cars in slow motion, climbed into the circuit with his cell phone, took some pictures and videos, ran across the track, and then back through the fence again, was arrested right after that.
Yeah.
And went to jail.
Unit Z on our chat just like has a very like interesting question. Do you think next year's cars, being wider and all the rest, will be able to even make it out of the pit lane at Singapore? Because it's so tight. Singapore, like, let alone Singapore, like go to Monaco. It's gonna be a challenge. But I think in terms
they
of
race cars this wide in the past.
Yeah, like I don't think because the width is not gonna be like that much more.
20 centimeters.
Sorry, I'm awful at this, guys.
And these guys, like, you know, it's a reason why they are, like, you know, the best drivers in the world.
Yeah.
They should be able to like navigate around that. Now,
dude, that's a tight little.
Also, for Unit Z, if the cars are going to be that much wider, you have to think that the engineers are going to compensate for it by giving them, say, like more of a turning radius, especially in like these types of circuits. They'll find ways to fine tune the car to make sure that nothing crazy happens. However, I do 100% believe that maybe if somebody goes into the race trying to like, and this applies for any race, especially like the tight circuit ones, next year, if anybody tries to be like too brave, too Max Verstappen-y around a corner, just because they're probably going to be like at first at least hardwired into last year mode or this year's mode, I guess, there's going to be like a few more crashes than we think. I don't know. That's my feeling, but I think that mentality probably won't last too long. I do want to like and as Vince just pointed out on the chat, the pit lane entries and exits will probably like be redesigned. They get like a little bit of an update.
The ones that need to.
I'm so bad. I'm so sorry, guys, if you're watching this.
Here's one thing though that I find, because Singapore, like right before even getting into Singapore, Mercedes has already come out. Toto Wolff has already come out and said, "Oh, don't expect us to be very competitive here.
We are not the favorite."
Yeah, I read that. What's that all about?
What do you think? Come on. Do you actually think that
they're talking shit? Oh God,
I think that that actually comes from Listen, I don't know what it is, and I don't know if it has anything to do with this FRIC thing that they've been talking about, but it probably doesn't. But I have a feeling that for some reason, just this one track, this one out of all of them, really, really, really works against Mercedes, and specifically, I'm not talking about Mercedes the car, I'm talking about the engine particularly. There is something, and I have the feeling that it might have to do with
track. Come on.
not their cooling, but the way that the car, like the turbines are set up, that it just does not work as well under high humidity and low revs. They're not like necessarily always hitting like flat out here, right? Like this is all gonna be like the stop and go.
I'm going flat out.
Whatever. Right? Well, I mean, no, but it's a lot of braking, a lot more than say Malaysia. But
Yeah.
and that's why I'm iffy to like full out like right away and say that. But this year is weird because we don't have Malaysia until later on, right? But go back to last year, to 2015. And you go back to 2015, the Malaysian Grand Prix, and that was when Sebastian Vettel won that race.
Yeah.
And he didn't only like win it; he was 8 seconds ahead of the next Mercedes, right? So it was the first like kink in the armor. That's when people started saying like, oh, Mercedes, blah blah blah, and then came Singapore like later on in the year, last year, and what happened? Mercedes again, nowhere. That was again another track. The Ferrari capitalized, and everybody was saying like, "Listen, what's going on with Mercedes? Like, are they actually not?" And what do those two places have in common? That high humidity.
Yeah.
Except Malaysia has a bit of a longer corners that somehow at higher revs lets it redeem itself. But I'm not 100% sure of this, and this is of course 100% speculation. But maybe something in the way that the Mercedes recovers the energy does not like high humidity, low revs. And to me, that speaks to the compressor. Something in the compressor, something that they deal with the gases coming in, just does not favor this track. And they know that, and they're willing to just sacrifice this.
Admit
it, sacrifice this track for the benefit of the rest of the year. And if that's what your strategy is, that's no different than say Red Bull going straight on full rake and sacrificing Monza and like the high speed
tracks,
and for the benefit of the other ones. That's just a different strategy.
Benefit of one like this.
Yeah, and here, like, are we gonna see finally, Daniel Ricciardo take a victory? How good would it be if he won here, so close to his home?
Close
people?
to home, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
This is a tough race, I gotta say. I mean, if I can't do it, I don't know how anyone else can do it.
But it's so tight too.
Yeah.
It's so old school.
That little under the bridge part too. Oh, see, like,
Yeah,
I should just stuck with pod racing.
Vince Labera says you're still better than Palmer though. No worries.
Thanks, Vince.
Julian.
I gotta get a steering wheel. I'm on an Xbox controller. Actually, an Xbox Elite controller.
There you go.
Okay,
but
this is enough.
But I think that more than anything, so for such a new track, and for a track that has, like, they managed to do it right. Singapore is a living testament that when F1 gets it right, it gets it right. And maybe this is what we should like be looking forward to in terms of future F1. Like, this is a perfect track that can, or at least this track itself, like, shows that when innovation and moving on with the times is done properly, it can be quite successful. Like, why can't all like the new tracks be like this? Because
New Jersey.
Yeah, right. Yeah, go somewhere innovative. Go somewhere different.
New Jersey Grand Prix.
Is it? Excuse me. Is it one of those things where, like, if every track is exciting, no tracks are exciting? Like, is that a valid argument to what you're saying? I'm not sure. Like, it's just like a thought I had.
To what?
If all tracks are quote unquote very exciting, then all tracks are boring. You know what I mean? Like they're all the same. There's no,
like you need
there's no difference. Like you need like a shitty
that
track.
song. Like that song. How does that go? Like you need like the bad times, to have like the good times or whatever. Come on, that's a rubbish argument if I ever heard one,
right,
man.
But
if not, you'd have. If not, you put like what? So then, Bernie, like if that held true 100%, or maybe he just never thought about it. Then Bernie would just stage one race per year, like just like up and down like a straight of a highway.
Never makes money.
Two corners. That one race, so the other ones would look so excited by comparison. No, it doesn't come to that. I truly believe that the people at Tilke, actually, bless their hearts, they probably do want to make really good, really exciting tracks. It's just hard to do. And number two, you shouldn't just contract it out to the one person. Why not just tender, let's say you want to go and open a new track, right? Let's say you're Bernie and you want to go and open a new track in an exotic location. Why would you just stick to one provider of architecture or whatever services? Why don't you just tender it out? Just
Bernie.
Say I want to go to this XYZ country, whatever, XYZ city. Put the tender out there. This is the plot of the land that we have to work with. Who can design the best track? Run a few simulations.
Give it to the racetrack design subreddit.
Yeah.
Is there a subreddit for that?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's cool.
I'm subscribed. Yeah, it's cool. They have competitions all the time. Exactly that kind of. They'll just show a satellite picture or a topographical image. Who can draw the best circuit over this?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of sick.
Who can design the best facilities?
Ivan Pacheco just said that Mercedes has just always had problems with tires and high temperatures, which is also true.
Tires. Well, I mean,
tires.
My question with that, wouldn't that affect everyone then? Or their ability to manage tires.
Yeah, to manage the tires.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
Yes. Yeah, their ability, somehow, the way that their car is set up doesn't seem conducive to that, especially under really, really, really high heats. But we're talking about...
It's also at night, though.
Extreme.
Still humid?
Still humid, still hot. That's the thing.
Okay. Wet, hot, dry. Okay.
To a lot of... I forgot who it is that I was reading recently. And they said that, the excuse that you hear on television is that, Singapore, they do it basically in the middle of the night. In Singapore, Singapore time, this race happens midnight or very close to midnight. But they do it like that so that they can stay with European times and European this and that. But also because half the European people that show up to this race would cook under the sun if it wasn't midnight.
They're just no, I'm not going to that. I'm just gonna wait it out.
Yeah, 100%.
The
Hondo P. But no, great race last year. Great race again. I mean, if any, at this point, I'm at a point where if anything is gonna give Mercedes a disadvantage, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
and I don't I'd never thought that I was gonna be that. I'm one of those fans. They just be let's just shit on whoever's winning or whatever. But seriously, just spice it up, man. Just
give some hot sauce on it.
Yeah, just let's Although I do like the way that this championship has been going, and it's been incredibly exciting. We've had some fantastic races this year. And I think
look how much is raining in Singapore right now. This is crazy.
But it never has. It never has been raining in it never has rained proper in Singapore for a race.
In real life,
yeah,
thunderstorms are scheduled all weekend. 90% humidity. Yeah, if you look at the weather, pull up the weather for Singapore. Let's see, Marina Bay weather.
Is it a dusk or a nighttime race?
Full in the middle of the night.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 32 degrees each day, and thunderstorms all day. Yep.
Pull up the precipitation chart.
Sorry, guys. I know I'm not doing my job right now.
After 10 p.m. is less than 6% on Sunday.
It might not rain.
It might not rain for the race. Let's see.
But let's hope.
Qualifying Saturday in the nighttime, no rain. It's gonna rain in the day.
So they have 100.
Same on
100,000
Friday.
Light fixtures that they put around the track, right?
Yeah.
That's a number. 100,000.
Yeah.
something like that. Some crazy like that. And then tens of transformer stations and all.
Just think about this: 100,000 bright ass lights.
Yeah.
And as the rain comes down,
LED towers,
like with refracting all that light, while you're going hundreds of or at least 100 kilometers an hour, that would be spectacular. If we actually
traveling to another dimension,
horribly dangerous for the drivers, I'm sure. But buddy, that's what you signed up for. I would love it if we have a wet race in Singapore. It still hasn't happened, but it's like honestly like a wet dream. Like, yeah, come on, it'd be amazing. Vince Libero says, doesn't an engine effective at higher revs at higher speed equals worse tire wear in higher temperatures anyway? So maybe that's So there you go. We're connecting some dots here, Vince. Mercedes also Here's the thing with the dominance of Mercedes is that right now they're not.
They've been saving those tires.
Yeah, but
it's some magic.
Because exactly that's the thing. They are so far ahead of even the other Mercedes teams. Last year it wasn't that market, and neither was in 2014 when quote unquote Force India and Williams had the same engine, and everybody thought that this is an engine formula. Mm-hmm. But now you look at them and they have, by and large, even if you like give like it's something like even if you like say that there's like a few horsepower, like a 10-15 horsepower difference in between the Mercedes and Williams Mercedes engine, that still should not account for the many seconds of advantage that they have. And that's the whole that's the whole thing that now apparently the other teams have been catching on and are calling foul on Mercedes for some sort of FRIC-legacy, FRIC derivative. Front. This has to do specifically with the front suspension.
This would be more like a relic, like a right-left interconnected. The FRIC system was a front-rear interconnected hydraulic suspension system that the teams were using a couple of years ago.
The Mercedes pioneered.
Right, and it was eventually outlowed. Mm-hmm. They had basically...
the FRIC was a passive system, and this is the thing. So you can't... The main rule overarching all these like weird innovations is that you cannot have driver aids, as in you cannot have active suspensions and things like that, like the car behaving on its own in such a way that it helps the driving of the car. You can't really have that. But this was not considered, or at least in the letter of the law, the FRIC suspension, the front rear interconnected that we had up until last year, was not considered a driver aid because they were operating in a loophole that said that the systems, like, or basically that left some room for passive systems, not outright active systems like the active suspension with a computer controlling where, like, how much the angle should be for each wishbone. No, it was a passive system that the car did it itself with no input from any other outside system. And that's how they got away with it. Now, this new thing that it's rumored that Mercedes has been working on for a long time is like that too. It is an independent system, so no matter what the driver or the team, they cannot change the behavior of this thing while it's in motion. Yeah,
they can adjust it a lot though, but the front and rear are not connected either. The left and right are on the front and rear. And separately.
So this is what they want to do basically, and it's to keep the car under cornering as level to the ground as possible, right? Because a car under cornering, if you're turning left, your car is gonna everybody's been in a car, like why don't or even like a city bus, if it's making like the slightest bit of a corner, like the whole thing goes that way, and that's just the normal behavior under centripetal forces and whatever else. So you want to kind of go against that effect, and it's really, really, really hard to do that with an independent system, with a system that requires no input from like a computer or anything like that. But Mercedes somehow got it, and our buddy Michael Schmidt from Automotor and Sport, I think, was the one that broke the story.
I think so.
And he said that it has pretty much everything to do with the fact that they're treating, or their definition of chassis, the way that they define the chassis sort of includes the top cover. I don't know. Like, do you have the scoop on this?
Sort of. So where the driver's feet go, basically, which is the nose of the car, as you see it from the outside, there's an A section and a B section, which are basically like where the driver's knees are and where their toes are.
Right.
Which says the minimum sizes that tube can be. So like it starts as a square where the driver's sitting, where the steering wheel is, and narrows down to a point at the front where the driver's feet are, and there's a minimum size that part can be. And in there, from sort of like left over from 3 or 4 years ago when the step nose was brought in.
Okay.
Because the F1 cars had the high nose still until 2012, I guess.
Yeah.
Which was deemed to be dangerous because they could come over.
And then they came with that platypus nose, which was horrid to look at. And because it was so horrible to look at, and the people demanded that F1 cars at the end of the day have to be beautiful somehow.
Right.
You are very against that argument.
I'm actually be erotic.
Yeah, well, they gotta be a poster piece. You gotta be able to like hang it on a 12-year-old's bedroom, and people going like, instead of saying "what is that," you have to be like, "Whoa," right? Yeah.
So we can't really show these pictures on the podcast because they belong to somebody. But where that step is, where the nose narrows, as Jay just said, to keep it beautiful, a vanity cover, which it basically covers the step and just makes it look like a single triangle nose.
It was just meant to be by the regulators. It was just meant to be an empty shell.
Just a vanity. It was called a vanity cover because it's just for looks. It's only for the look of that piece.
Oh, wow.
And that's it. We talked about earlier in the season as well, where Mercedes' nose attaches to the body, the chassis, that S duct was actually kind of built into the nose, as was not, you weren't allowed to put holes through it, but they made it as like a gap, which it's kind of hard to describe.
It was hole shaped.
It's hole shape, hole shape.
So that when you got the cover on top, it closed the loop, it closed the holes.
It closed the holes, and the S duct was there. And under that vanity cover, which Mercedes is much, or at least noticeably larger than every other team on the grids. They managed to fit some hydraulic components in there, which do work. They somehow passively calculate the forces on the inside and outside tires of a cornering car and keep the car level, which keeps the tire wear down, which keeps the tire shape more even, which makes the tires last longer, which keeps the cars out longer.
Here's a silver lining of
pit stops.
Here's a silver lining of any of this, really, is that
it's not cheating.
It's not cheating right now. And now there's rumors that Red Bull, for example, part of their renaissance, the recent renaissance, with a Renault engine that apparently at the best of times is still 50 horsepower behind. This is from that Michael Schmidt article. He said that
this is from GPS calculations.
Yeah, somehow with GPS, I don't know, man. Like
they calculate the weight of the car by how fast they can accelerate.
Nobody discloses the weight of the car. But anyway, so it's a very educated guess.
You can assume within a few kilos.
It's a very educated guess that the Renaults are behind by 50 horsepower and the Ferraris are behind by 15. But with a car that's trailing by 50 horsepower, to have had such a resurgence, and the other Renault with supposedly the same engine being stuck all the way that far behind in what is supposed to be an engine formula. It's not an engine formula. Not anymore. It would have been. Anymore. Yeah, it would have been back then. But aerodynamics and aerodynamic trickery is back. And Ferrari's lagging behind on that. That's what they're saying. That the Red Bull somehow is cracking it. And is getting close to what Mercedes is doing. But what's that going to happen? Like, the silver lining to all of this, I think, is that thank goodness for next year. Thank goodness that they're gonna completely reshuffle all that, and nobody in their right mind can tell you that they know exactly how these bigger tires are gonna affect the flow of everything. Because these bigger tires, you gotta think that anything from the steering arms to like the suspension itself to the drivetrain, it's all gonna have to change to accommodate for like the bigger torque that's gonna be needed to even move these things. Now we're talking about like, you know, centimeters or millimeters bigger, but that counts in the world of F1.
Yeah.
So nobody can say right now that they're sitting pretty on their aerodynamics and on their computer simulations, and they can tell you exactly how next year is gonna go, because they can't. We won't know that until F1 Metrics puts their their testing.
He gets his data together for the season. Well, we know the first race for 2017, the Australian Grand Prix, now set for March 26, 1 week later than this year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, because they have time.
That's because the teams wanted extra time to get their shit together.
Yeah. These are gonna be drastically different cars in the way that they behave.
So different. Yeah, so different.
And in the way that teams are gonna look to invest upon their development, because don't forget that 2017 is gonna be like a bit of a weird year, because it's gonna transition between 2017 and the 2018 rule change. So these cars could look so different in 2018, or behave so differently.
Right.
That
18.
Yeah.
Rule changes for 18?
It's going to be like the engine rule change, at least. Yeah, coming up. So that they don't... It's not going to be like a few years worth of like the rules being sort of the same, like we have experienced up until now.
Oh, yeah.
Up until this year. Like where it was year after year after year that the rules were basically the same, and then teams could catch up in this sort of that way. It's going to be two subsequent years of like big rule changes, big enough that they're gonna affect how the teams are gonna like invest their resources into developing the car for the next year or this year.
Aren't there less races next year as well?
So far,
Perhaps.
So far,
Yeah.
it's still nothing's sort of.
the calendar is not gonna be released until they don't have to release it until like January.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't have to.
You think with that much movement amongst like product and all these things, you think they'd get that up pretty quickly?
That's a freaking yearly problem, man.
Wow.
It's like just a lot of people have a lot of respect for Bernie and what he does and where he's taking the sport, but one of the main criticisms always is that it's very last minute. Like it's like a lot of the decisions, a lot of crucial decisions that affect like people's lives and livelihood and like their jobs and like the way that like you'd go about like spending these millions of dollars in your budget, like go down to all kinds of last minute decisions, and like that it's hard to think that that's not hurting Formula One in one shape or another. Because if you had more time to plan, like you suggest, yeah, you could. But credit to what he does. Like
Right.
he does have to deal with like entire countries
Yeah.
finding
Yeah.
space in their calendar to host the Grand Prix. So it's a monumental task to even like get the calendar like to work in the first place. But yeah, it could be done in a different way. I feel like you could plan it a little better. But maybe I'm.
But it's not like other sports like hockey, soccer, baseball, football, whatever you play, where like you have these stadiums and you know
national events,
right? These national events, right? In this case, it's like
we
some
have
of them take
20 races next year.
20 races.
Yeah.
So
Wait.
far, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things where like the stadium's already there, right?
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? In this case, it's like, well, we got to clean up the streets a bit. The circuit's gotten a little old, doesn't get used as much as
these was,
as
and
it
then
used
then you have like fixed points like Monaco. So Monaco always kind of has to land on that weekend that they have their long weekend where the Thursday is a holiday,
Right.
Or sorry, the Friday is the holiday, so they can't race on Friday. It has to be practice. Like P1 and P2 on Thursday, and then usually the week after that it has to be Canada. But now like we don't even know if we're getting a Canadian Grand Prix.
The
next
Canadian
year.
Grand Prix, with Lance Stroll though, maybe.
Yeah, that's with Lance Stroll. Hey, wait, where did we like? How did we even end up here? We were talking about Singapore at one point. Why don't we finish talking about Singapore first?
Yeah.
Looking forward to this Grand Prix. I think it's gonna spell some good things for Red Bull. I see Ferrari being more of the same. It's a team that is unraveling very publicly so. Now,
Ferrari?
Arriva Bene has come out and said that, oh, don't worry, my boss, Marchione, is just, he's working very hard into bringing in some talent from inside and promoting some talent.
That's what they said, yeah.
I know that that's what they want to do.
said.
Yeah, and like we know, like, ideally that's a very like, you know, business world kind of thinking, right?
Yeah.
But at one point, is Marchione gonna realize that the way that he might have tried to approach F1 may not be, you know what I mean? Like the business world's ways are not necessarily portable to a sport like F1, where all you have is like, you gotta think it's gotta be such a shit show, man. You're in these year-long meetings talking with like all their people, like friggin' Raw or who am I thinking of? The guy from McLaren, Ron, like Ron Dennis. Yeah, so
Ron
talking all year long to people like Ron Dennis and like everybody else up and down like the F1 paddock, like, you know, these type A personalities or whatever. Each one with like their own ideas, and like they'll probably go out of their way to screw you if you like, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, no, we'll get together, and like, don't worry, you don't think we can screw you? We can screw you. Just watch me. and all of that, like, you know, all kinds of unproductive behavior that we know that happens up and down the paddock.
Oh,
like the big the big saying is that if teams could only agree. If teams could only have agreed on something, they wouldn't have ended up on this. Because back in the day when Bernie Ecclestone was a team owner, and he was basically like the president of like the Team Owners Association or something, he went and negotiated the deal that basically made the Formula One group of companies what it is right now. The deal that made FOM. He went and bought the commercial rights for the sport, and then turned around and like tried to sell it to the teams. He's like, yo, man, like there's a lot of room in here for growth, blah, 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 blah. Why don't we all split it evening? Even. Everybody gets like equal share of the commercial rights. Everybody just hand me over £100,000. And they couldn't come to an agreement because everybody was pulling their own way, and they were like, £100,000, no, I could use it to like develop the car, blah, 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 right? If the teams had only had enough of foresight to split the commercial rights, even though we wouldn't have ended up here in the first place to begin with, right? Like, you know, F1 would have been drastically and completely different. So you could say that a lot of the problems in F1 right now are just because because the teams cannot agree on where to go and what to do. As a whole,
it's like independent interests and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, you guys might want this, but we want that, and they just never saw eye to eye on these things.
Yeah, and because it's sport, and because there's like the money that's in the line is so depending on those deals, like it behaves in such a different way than like the world of business, of like, or straight business, or, you know, the car manufacturing business, which is where Marchione comes from.
Right.
And that's probably why a lot of people are saying, like, hey, listen, like, you said some pretty strong words at the beginning of the year. You were talking very tall. You talked
a lot of shit.
You talked a lot of shit, bud. And where are your race wins? Where's the Ferrari? Like, realistically, I think Ferrari has more of a chance to win this Grand Prix than probably any other for the rest of the year. Except for, like, maybe the last one, right? And if that's so, we can very much, like, we can envision 2016 that it ends up with 0 Ferrari victories. Like,
have they won any?
This is a quote from...
Have they won any? Sorry to cut you off.
Not this year.
Not this year.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a quote from Marchione. Let them finish the season. I think we'll do the best we can for the rest of 16, and the fight starts in 2017 with the first race. So they gave up already.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything else for the car.
Would you not agree that most teams maybe aside from maybe Red Bull, Williams maybe, and then like they're essentially waiting for next year. Like all these teams, besides Mercedes, like Mercedes are the team that are like, no, we're gonna fucking win, obviously. And then when next year comes along, it's a new game. We're playing a new game next year. New rules, new car.
But it's gonna be a lot of the same, man.
Yeah.
Because listen, here's the thing, and here's the problem with all
Haas?
these.
Like Haas, right? They came in this year, right?
I think no, you know what? Haas probably been waiting for next year.
Yeah. McLaren
or planning for next year, and so does McLaren. Because they pretty much already announced it, and that theory that I have, like I told you, that I think that Haas, as far as their accountants are concerned, they can write off the end of this year because they already made the amount of money that they needed to make to keep the team rolling, just in the amount of points that Grosjean got at the beginning of the year. So I think I genuinely believe that Haas is sitting pretty, looking like it has been for a long time, just focusing on 2017.
Yeah,
and
I mean that makes sense.
And that's gonna pay off for them. I don't see it not paying off.
Yeah, I think so.
But what I think more to the point, what I wanted to talk about is with this FRIC suspension scandal, or not necessarily scandal, but like with these kind of advantages coming up, I still don't think that it's a Mercedes, for example, found like the silver bullet with the FRIC. The one thing that they could change in their car that was gonna solve all the problems. No, a team like Mercedes is in today's Formula One so successful because they have thousands of people looking at all the regulation and all the way
they constantly say they have 1,300 people on their team, etc.
Just looking for little things, and it may be that this FRIC that people think that is giving them all the advantage is only actually giving them, let's say, 2 or 3%. 2 or 3% of the advantage. But if they have 200 things that give him, you know what I mean, like that give him at the 1,000th of a second advantage, they end up with 2 or 3 seconds or 2 or 3 tenths of advantage. You know what I mean? Like it's just because Mercedes now has the budget, and because they've been winning, they have the time and the resources to spend to try to like find these loopholes, these boundaries of the regulations that can be stretched to fit, and you gain you gain a millisecond here, a millisecond there, and it adds up. And that's what a lot of teams complain about, that's the way to win in Formula One these days. You can't just have the biggest engine, you can't just have the most money, you have to have everything to work in your favor. And sometimes, I guess sometimes that produces bizarre results, like one team that...
Look at their score, 498 points. It's insane.
It's been...
Red Bull right behind has 282. Ferrari behind them has 279.
So nowhere near.
Nowhere near. They're near each other. They're close to each other. And Force India there has 108, and Williams has 141.
Look at Vince LeBear.
111.
Toro Rosso has been on the 2017 car before they even started the 2016 season, since they couldn't update the engine. It's true, man.
It's true. Ferrari have said that. They said already over a month ago. We said that they mentioned they're working on their 2018 car already.
Yeah,
they've started. Honda just said last week that they've hired an entire separate engine team to work on next year's engine, and one team just to finish off this year, where they want to go to get this year's stuff done.
But here's what that tells me. The only thing that tells me is that in the years to come, we're gonna have a very exciting Formula One. Even if what that means is like still seeing one team dominate, but if it's just another team, like just any old other team, it could be a McLaren. Why not?
Oh, I love that.
Either 2017 or 2018.
Yeah, I'd love it.
We have as Formula One fans, we have a lot of reasons to be hopeful for next year and the year before and the year after, and especially now with the announced Liberty deal and all that. But before I actually have a couple things to point out about the Liberty deal. But before we move on to that, let's finish off Singapore. What else you got?
I think that's about it for this race. Yeah.
I think that
for myself,
just to go back to what one of the listeners said, it's definitely gonna be Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari. That hasn't changed. Like those are gonna be the teams that are gonna be like battling it for first. But
Williams, Force India, Toro Rosso behind them.
And to what extent are Force India gonna be able to like ramp up their effort now to actually like do something good in this race, right?
Let's see. I don't know. We don't know how much money Perez got behind that recent signature.
Well, no, for sure, but
right.
they have their wings from Monaco. They have their high downforce wings already. I think they could do something. So let's say even if the order is 1, 2, 3, could be either Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull, or in any specific order. I think one really interesting one is who's gonna finish fourth, and I think. I would want to say Force India.
Fourth team.
For the team. For the team. Yeah. For the team. Not the driver. But now, when it comes to the teams and who's gonna be on the podium come this Sunday, I think it's very likely that at least one Mercedes is gonna be there. But I would be willing to bet that it's only gonna be one Mercedes.
One of them's going to take each other out. That's my hoping.
Oh, I'd hope. That'll be brilliant.
That's my hoping.
If they actually go out and like take each other out, 100%.
Hundo P.
Yeah, that's gonna make for an exciting race. But it's gonna be like that either way for them. Like they are clearly writing it off, and the Red Bulls are gonna be strong, and I can't wait for Sunday. Realistically. Okay. The Liberty deal has obviously been another thing that people have been talking about recently.
Yeah.
And we've hammered it on last week's podcast for a while. But here's one thing that I didn't we didn't mention, and that I think that it's very clear to specify. When the deal goes through, right? One of the things that's going to happen is that even when they're going to buy only like the 39 or 30 whatever % that CVC has, because of the way that the deals and the share options were laid out, there's some groups as in the FIA even out there that have clauses in their buying agreements that mean that whenever CVC sells, they have to sell. So they're kind of collected in the whole thing. This, accounting for those deals, you will still, you are going to see, so Bernie's share of F1 is going to go down. So is the FIA is going to probably lose all their shares.
They had a 1%.
Yeah, only that 1%.
Right.
All the other trusts, like the Norwegian sovereign fund, is gonna their contribution, or their amount of shares is gonna be halved, and so is this American investment firm, whatever they have. I think it is the Texas Teachers Unions or something like that.
Yeah.
They have so their number of shares, it's all gonna go down because of these side deals that it had. So really, the sale right now, yes, it only represents that 30% or whatever, 30 to 40% that CVC owns, but with it, there's some implications that will eventually give Liberty Media not just a majority, but close to an absolute majority. And they're also gonna have the option, it could be that they could take the option to just outright buy Formula One, 100% of it. Fully be have it be a fully owned subsidiary of Liberty Media. Now, remember when we were talking about Liberty Media and how they have 3 stock tickers, right? one of them is actually called Liberty Media, and that's the one that's listed on the NASDAQ exchange. That ticker is actually, they're going to take that company, and that's the company that's going to absorb the Formula One interest, and they're going to change their name from Liberty Media
I saw
to
that.
Formula One Group. Now, why would they do this? To cut down on the paperwork, really. Because the company already exists, so they won't have to, produce like a new thing. But
It's like buying a Formula One team.
yeah, right. Yeah. You
Right.
just change the name.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna start a whole new fucking thing. I'm just gonna buy someone else out. And
Yeah.
Go from there.
Yeah. And so whatever like non-Formula One, strictly related things that they had allocated in Liberty Media, that business is gonna go to like, their other like stock tickers that they have. They're gonna leave Liberty Media just for F1, change the name, and then absorb the company that way. This has some clear implications, and this is why a lot of people that know the ins and outs, like people like Joe Sayward, like are hopeful about this, because just by the simple fact of a company being listed in an American stock exchange makes a lot of rules applicable to it, that in the end, like what we get is more accountability, because there's going to be more transparency.
Right.
And specifically things like the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. This is something that any company that's listed in one of the big exchanges in the States, they have as a consequence of the Enron scandal and all that, like the big Ponzi schemes and accounting scandals that the U.S. has gone through. Now anything that's listed in a U.S. Exchange has to be very, very, they have to like release a lot of their financial information. Things like auditor independence. So they have to bring an independent auditor, corporate responsibility, things about conflict of interest are completely forbidden. So all of this is going to just by virtue of it being a rule, it's gonna force F1 into more of an accountable position than it was before, like way more.
Yeah.
Because before it was like a black box, whatever went on in the inner dealings of F1. So now people are going to be able to see it and scrutinize it and really start asking the questions like, hey, like, so why was this much money spent on this last year if it didn't have to be? Like, what are the fans getting out of this? These questions are going to become more present, and because of that, that's one of the key things why people are excited about this deal. Because even if, let's say, Liberty Media's intentions aren't 100% pure and gleaming, even if they're gonna come to like try to like squeeze as much money out of the sport relentlessly like CVC did, they still have to abide by these rules of transparency and things like corporate responsibility and conflict of interest, that it should at least push him to be a better company. That is at least.
I mean, it's pretty hopeful, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
rightfully so, right?
Don't forget that companies in the States can, like people, executives of companies in the States can go to jail.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it might have not been so obvious in the 2008 crash, but don't forget that those were banks, and banks are somehow treated differently. But companies like Liberty Media can get in a lot of trouble if they do shady accounting, and that's maybe one of the freedoms that CVC had before to make shady accounting.
Vince said, so should we invest in Liberty Media stock, guys?
I would, honestly. If I had enough money, I would.
Well, I mean, at this point, like, because the state of Formula One is like, it's at a low, right?
So there's no way but up.
Nowhere but up.
Listen,
Come on, guys.
Okay, so one caveat to what I said is I would invest heavily in Liberty Media if they come and ask us how to run it. If there's more openness, if what they claim that they want to do, which is to open F1 to the digital markets, there's no way that that's not going to work. This is the whole thing that we've been saying since we started this podcast, is that there needs to be a digital outlet for F1 content. Yeah. And if that's what Liberty Media is going to do, there's no way but up for them. And I think I fully believe
a great philosophy, too, is when it comes to like digital distribution of whatever it is, like whatever media it is, it's that if it's available to purchase online and it's easy to use, people are going to use it. And that's a really, really good point.
Yeah, nowhere.
But if they don't have it, they're going to be like, well, fuck you guys for not investing in this, so now I'm going to stream it for free.
Yeah.
On a legal website.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eat my balls.
And as much as you try to clamp down on that, on that, like what the old school
another
thinking,
website pops up.
Yeah, another website, another internet. Like Kim.com is trying to launch another internet.
Oh, beautiful. Do it.
Right? You know, it's there's no escaping it, and it seems like John Malone is the kind of person that, I mean, even he said it. He's like, listen, I don't care if new media is gonna affect my business because I farm both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
I'm covered. Don't worry. So that's cool, and that's hopeful at least, and that's something that I wanted to clarify about the Liberty deal. Mm-hmm. I've talked enough about Liberty.
Something I wanted to say about Ferrari just before we jumped away is that it's now come out that James Allison was actually fired.
Oh shit!
Remember we said we ran with that rumor that was all over the internet that he left for personal reasons. Right. He was going to spend time with
his wife and whatever,
his family,
kids.
and spend time with his kids in the summer and blah 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 blah. But Marchione has admitted that he was fired. He was given. Marchione asked him to rearrange, I guess, the structure of the management of his department. I guess, like he was in charge of the engineering of this Formula One car. Marchione,
the technical director. That's what he was.
Yeah, he was the technical director. Marchione suggested to him that maybe we should change the layout structure of how this car is managed and the number of supervisors we have and managers we have and stuff like that. And he refused. They had a clashing of heads. And I guess Marchione seems like he gave him a deadline he's like, we're going to test the car, and then we're going to test the car again at this deadline. And if the car is not meeting some goals, you're fired. And he got fired. But the thing is that he seems to be in huge demand now from other teams. Like Force India and Williams.
He's basically being like
that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so
it's not good enough for Ferrari, but you know.
You got to think that somebody like James Allison probably, very, very likely has enough money to go without a job for a couple years, right?
I haven't worked for 10 months.
Yeah, you're right.
This dude makes way more money than I have ever made.
Yeah.
Don't worry about him.
Yeah, so he's fine to chill out and actually you know what?
I need a job if anyone's hiring. Call me.
I think that if he wanted to take some time to actually be with his family, and it would be the reasonable and prudent thing to do, right? Of course
he probably would have said it himself.
Yeah, right. But then after he comes up to that, and that is one thing that you can in life pretty much fucking count on, is that time will pass, and eventually you do. And he's a young guy. We're not talking about actually some people are saying that even Ross Brawn is young enough to come back and lead a team. So he's even younger than Ross Brawn. You know, he's a young guy in the grand scheme of things of F1 engineering. If in 1 or 2 years he wants to turn around and start handing some business cards around, you better believe. Yeah, then they're not gonna end up in the shredder. People are gonna give him a call back. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, Ferrari lied. He lied. Somebody lied. He was fired.
He was probably contractually obligated to lie about that situation.
When was the last time Ferrari was in a position like this? And not that they're doing awful. They're fourth and fifth. I mean, we expect them to be higher, obviously, but
everybody. That's the thing.
Everyone.
When you're Ferrari, everyone expects you to be up there. Yeah. A lot better. Winning. but winning constantly is not. Winning. Yeah, but it's not a sustainable condition.
Right.
So it's a bit of a.
Wait, winning is not a sustainable condition?
No, not over and over again.
I look at Mercedes though.
Yeah, but they're about to crack, right? Who knows?
Yeah, you think they're gonna crack?
I think so. They can. I mean, logically they can be. It's either they stop winning. There's not gonna be a 10-year 10-year run of Mercedes dominance. They can't be
no Mercedes dynasty.
Yeah, because if it gets to that point, the rules will be changed by force or by necessity, because people would just simply tune out. That's kind of the danger that they ran at the end of the Ferrari dominance with Michael Schumacher. Is that people were tuning out too fast because they kept winning. Yeah, and the Red Bull days. Yeah, that's, as Vince just pointed out, it's not a sustainable condition for better or for worse. I'm not saying that whether it should be or not. Honestly, I think that's and you know,
it's more likely to change itself rather than sort of manufactured change.
And I agree with Brundle that for instance, it's a championship. It's a constructors championship, right? And different constructors.
The red horses might have lost some tiger blood. Well said, sir.
Yeah. No, but serious, honest. I get what you're saying. Teams cannot survive, and the sport itself, if it's not forced on by rule changes, it'll be forced on by declining audiences.
Right.
Because what people, as much as you would think that what you want to see is a constructor championship, and the logical, like the logical end point of that, if you evaluate it through to the end, means that a constructor could very reasonably just find an edge and have enough of an advantage to basically create like a dominance,
right?
And there has been,
just say dynasty.
But time and time again we've had periods of dominance in the sport,
right?
And especially actually that has been marked more recently since the 2000s, and actually a little bit before with Williams and whatever. But there has kind of always been, at least in a 5-year period of time, there's always been a dominant team. But really, it cannot and probably should not last any more than that.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me.
But and I'm not gonna tune out of the sport anytime soon. Even if Mercedes in 10 years accumulates their 13th world championship.
Yeah,
probably not,
because there's gonna be new drivers, right? Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg eventually will fight each other to the death. One will win, one will lose,
or one will get eaten by a tiger.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
Or one kills the tiger, drinks its blood, and just becomes the dominant force of Mercedes.
Did you guys see that video of Lewis scaring this motherfucking wild beast that could tear your heart out if it wanted?
Oh, I saw that. When I saw this at first, I was like, oh my god, this is...
I have nothing against that. Honestly, good on, for him. And I know that some people in Dubai keep pet tigers in their house and whatever. But
this is ABC News.
Do not don't pretend for a second that you can predict the behavior of a wild animal, because by definition, a wild animal is going to be wild. And especially fucking cats. Cats run 90% of the time on instinct alone.
Dude, I have 2 of them. And they're fucking unpredictable. One's 10, super lazy, still can't predict it. It's I bet he's going to sleep here. Nuh-uh, he's sleeping in the toilet. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? You just never know.
Yeah, he's 4,000 years feral.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's still wild.
So, do you guys know the story about that whole thing? Are you
I'm trying to find it. There's a YouTube video, but I don't want to use YouTube.
It's probably on his Instagram.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. Anyway, it was definitely a tiger. It was a tiger. Yeah, Vince, tune in. We're gonna find this clip. So
okay, I'm gonna throw this up here just so you guys see what happens when you search Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton.
Net worth and then tiger.
Yeah. No, this made the rounds.
There he is.
Yeah.
Go to videos. Yeah. Anyway, so if anybody doesn't know, there's a video that's gone viral, floating around the internet that Lewis goes and sneaks up. There we go. So this is Lewis sneaking up on this full-grown motherfucking tiger and he's like sneaking out with it, and boom, scares it, and the thing does like and look at it.
You got
me.
me.
Yeah, right. Like, so this tiger is a friendly tiger at that point, and he was cool with Lewis like scaring him, and he was, this tiger rolled around like a kitten, right, on the ground. But listen, at the end of the day, you cannot predict 100% what that tiger is going to do. And if that tiger, for some reason, at that second, had been in a killing mood, we would be talking about a different championship right now. Yeah. All of a sudden. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like, Nico Rosberg just said with an interview, he's like, yeah, I'm sorry for Lewis Hamilton. It's a sad day for Formula One.
Lewis Hamilton 6 feet down.
Just give him the finger.
6 feet down.
Shit.
6 feet Hamilton.
No, on it. Okay. So, did you guys hear about what the story behind this is? Apparently, this is like some sort of a shelter where they keep animals that have been rejected or have to
brought in from circuses and shit like that.
They're used to people, and Lewis, in some way, shape, or form, supports financially this tiger. Mm-hmm. So good on him. Honestly, I mean, for all the Lewis fans out there, we're just making jokes.
Yeah. Ooh. I know the Sky Boys are after us right now.
Man, Jesus. Do you have any idea how many subscribers we lost since we started ripping on Lewis?
It's all fun, guys. We're all having a good time here.
Oh, man.
So here, Rio Haryanto got some new backers.
What?
He got some new backers since he got kicked out of his Formula One seat.
Oh.
Then everyone in Indonesia was like, what happened to our boy, man? He's supposed to be driving the car. We got money. And it was too late. They missed the deadline by a week to get his seat back. But it might be open for next year.
If he has enough money.
But
they're probably not going to go on promises this time. They're probably going to expect him to show up with a suitcase full of dollars. And then, and only then, after they verify that they're all non-consecutive, they will let him drive.
How about Lance Stroll?
Buddy.
Ooh,
Super license holder.
Jesus Christ. Are we going to see him on the podium
Let's throw up this picture here.
Eating a bowl of poutine? and there's no shortage. Right now there's absolutely no shortage of majestic eyebrows in F1. But he's gonna bring in a set of his own. Look him up. Like, Mike, look up Lance Stroll. This kid, he's got some Vince Capaldi eyebrows.
Oh yeah.
No, there is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. Put that up there.
He looks like a frat guy.
He does.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Oh, he's one of those rich kids of Instagram or whatever.
Which I think by definition
Williams Rexona suit on. There's his pops there, F1 dads, Lawrence Stroll. Look at his house.
Yeah, it's a
giant mansion.
It's a ridiculous mansion.
And his yacht. His yacht wouldn't fit in my street.
That's presumably that's his dad's yacht. But yeah.
I think his yacht is bigger than my house.
So Buddy has a couple extra dollars lying around that he's willing to invest on an F1 team to let him drive. So this is his dad.
That's his pops. Yeah.
That's his dad?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So he's willing to spend money to get into an F1 seat, and if we are to believe the reports, he's going to be spending the entire winter driving around in different places of the world on a 2014 Williams car, just so he can get acclimated to the controls and the feel of an F1 car, so that by the time that he reaches F1, he's gonna come with flying fucking carpets.
So that picture there, that tab number 3, .jpg, that is the very top, the tab. Yeah. So that there.
Zoom in on that.
Zoom in. Yeah. The top sheet of paper there is Jacques Villeneuve's super license from 1996. As far as we know, the last Canadian to earn a super license before Lance Stroll yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
No, oh yeah, so he's got enough points for a super license.
He's got enough points to earn a super license. All that's left is the paperwork, I guess.
Oh, that's so exciting.
You need to win a certain number of lower category races to get the super license,
Vince asking,
which is required to race in Formula One.
So this is what Vince is asking. So which F1 seats are filled for next season? Or I guess maybe that are empty for next season. The Williams second seat, Renault second seat. Renault is still fully like wide open, as far as I can.
Yeah, they have not announced anything.
No.
Williams, as far as we know, Lance
they're
Stroll
gonna-
is the guy.
So
Lance Stroll is going to be taking Massa's seat.
Yeah, it's Lance and Valtteri.
Lance and Bottas.
Really? Is that like?
I know it's not official.
It's not official, but like everyone's like, yeah, no, that's where the guy's going.
Yeah.
It's rumored to be announced this race weekend, so we'll see.
Oh, dude, that's gonna be
We
so
will see.
exciting.
Yeah, buddy.
And another rumor, I think we missed this last week. A man named Artem Markelov, who is currently 11th in the GP2 series. I think Lance Stroll's number one. Artem Markelov, he says he's in talks with a number of Formula One teams, but that he is rumored to be set to take Lance Stroll's Williams young driver training seat.
Or like his development seat or
His
whatever.
young driver development seat, yes, at Williams. So Lance Stroll
for
currently is a Williams young driver.
There's an article that I think I honestly I cannot remember who put it out, but I saw it on Reddit earlier. I think it might have been Autosport or Motorsport or something like that. But it's talking about like how there's like a very significant changing of the guards going on in F1 right now, where a lot of new talent has been coming in and is coming in, and it's these are very exciting times because there hasn't been that much influx of young, not necessarily like just young in general drivers, but young capable drivers. Like these are like, because remember a couple of years back, or like a few years back, when you had a couple of new names in F1 like Charles Pic that did like
Sutil.
Still like some people like are actual still fans, but
He was okay.
But you know what I mean? Like, so you got like a young driver in for a year, and they did shit all, Chilton style. Like, they didn't, absolutely, they were just
Jean-Eric
there
Verne.
to be there, and because they had some sort of backing. But now we're getting young guys into F1 that are gonna stick
They have
around
some
for a while.
backing and are good. Yeah.
Yeah, like and it's very exciting. And it couldn't have come at a better time, I'd say.
Yeah.
And listen to, and I know that actually Canadians for some reason are not like our biggest demographic on this show. We have people from all over, and thank you for listening, everybody from all over the world. Especially, we got a huge chunk of Americans that listen. Hey, we know that about half of you want to move to Canada already because of like whatever the outcome of your election might be. Why don't you just take it one step at a time? Start cheering right now for Lance Stroll. You can submit that with your immigration documents.
How cool of a name is that? Come on, Lance.
Like, I'm a Lance Stroll fan. I would like to move to Canada for that reason. I let you in.
I'm so glad you're not an immigration officer.
No, but serious, Americans and everybody else, rally up behind this kid. He's got some talent, and we'd love to see him up on the podium and
Absolutely.
to hear the O Canada. Why not?
So okay, if Lance Stroll is the guy to come in, that's announced this weekend allegedly.
Yeah.
Will Bernie sort of rethink Montreal in the Grand Prix? Because obviously, it seems like it's going to be not taken away.
Bernie won't rethink it until he gets his millions. What might happen is that if he gets the seat, then Octane, which are the people that organize the Canadian Grand Prix, might see more of a commercial value to selling the tickets. So they'll get into like a little bit more debt and say like, don't worry, we'll have the numbers. And they will probably, if Lance Stroll is in a Williams seat next year, they will pack the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you look at the Mexico this year, they're already predicting another 25,000 people more
Even
than last
more.
year. Last year was packed, and people were standing on each other's
I was
shoulders
talking
outside the
shit.
fence. People
I don't know
were
if you
outside-
remember, but like when we did like the preview for the Mexican Grand Prix, I said some stupid thing like, "Oh, the Mexicans better go this year because this is the only year that it's gonna like get packed because that's how Formula One works." And historically, with a lot of new circuits, it had been like China that they pack up the first year because there's hype. But no, and especially now that friggin' Perez is actually he's got his near future at least secured.
So Vince says in the chat, it's like, where will Lance Stroll's circuit park be in 20 plus years if you guys' dreams come true? Toronto?
Of course.
Mark? Oh man,
Of course.
The city circuit going down Bay Street.
But Lance, like here's the thing, Vince, maybe you can post it in the chat in a minute. But I don't know where you're from, but in Canada.
No one gives a shit about Formula One.
Well, no, and there's like a big split in between English Canada and French Canada, and because Lance Stroll is from Montreal, there's absolutely no way that even if I wanted the Lance Stroll circuit to be in Toronto, they'd never let it happen. So, but man, since I stumbled upon that subreddit of like the design track subreddit, I've been thinking like, Toronto could have a sick Grand Prix.
Oh, yeah.
Right down the middle. Like there's some like intricate corners, up and
what
down.
about down the
There are,
DVP?
Those sweeping curves of the DVP. Oh, doing 180 on the Don Valley Parkway. Yeah, that's what it's all about, buddy. Beer, yeah, please beer me up.
Please.
The big problem with the Canadian Grand Prix is the venue, not the money. Yeah.
What?
Well, I mean, as in like because Bernie thinks that the venue itself, like the buildings, are cracking up. Not the venue. The venue is fantastic. The track itself is a great track. But we're talking about like the pit facilities and like all these fancy buildings that Bernie.
You and I saw the medical facility, which was
Just
a trailer.
Yeah.
It was like a converted washroom trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a trailer.
Yeah.
When the race was over, they backed the truck up to it, hooked it on, and drove it away to the next race, probably.
So that's not FIA spec.
No.
But listen, you have some of the best hospitals in the country, not too far away, inside the city of Montreal. I think Montreal can be treated in a certain way, like the same way that Monaco, for example, is that they're giving a lot of in terms of like the medical facilities and whatever, because they're so close, they're in a city.
Right.
Like Montreal is the same way. Like Bernie's just judging Montreal harshly. Specifically, he's bringing up the medical facilities up because it's something that he could bring up, right? Like, by the FIA standards, a grade A or whatever track has to have like this many things, but Monaco doesn't have it. That doesn't like fulfill all the requirements. They make an exception for Monaco. They should make an exception also for Montreal because the city is so close. But Bernie doesn't want to, because what Bernie really wants is for the garages and where like the important business people hang out to look nice, to look fancy, to look luxurious, because that's what he does around the world. He's like he can tell all these like Gulf countries, all these like money countries, to like spend billions of dollars in this circuit, make it look pristine. You can tell China to build that huge structure and keep it clean, and because he can, but he doesn't necessarily have that much of a clout with Canada. Remember what happened when the race didn't happen in 2009? People revolted. People want the Canadian Grand Prix to happen because
there was a lot of people, and it was hard to rent a house to stay in.
Yeah.
For that weekend. Yeah,
So
because people want to go there. It's busy.
Yeah, and it's not only just busy for the sake of being busy, but it's often
the downtown shuts down.
the whole city embraces it. We've said it time and time again. Lots of Americans come. It is an important. It's a dare I say a systemically important races, and there's a number of those in the calendar. And I hope that looking forward, as a consequence of this Liberty deal, that they realize that there's maybe 10 races per year that I would say are systemically important. Like races that if they go away fully and forever, F1 wouldn't really be the same. Right? If not 10, close to 10. We're talking about like the British Grand Prix, Canadian Grand Prix now. Like we had some feet to stand on our Canadian Grand Prix claim. The US, geez, I don't know why they went so long without having a Grand Prix. But equally, the all traditional ones in Europe should be respected. But at the same time as the new classics like Singapore.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, like there's Azerbaijan.
Yeah, that's
Like
not
like that just seems like it was just put together
and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Like the ones that work from the get-go, man.
Yeah.
Like Singapore did.
Yeah.
Fantastic race
Just
from
like, wow,
from
that
the
looks
first one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Azerbaijan just looked like something.
Somebody posted on Reddit I think it was yesterday, the day before, a couple pictures of one of either one of the last sections or the last section of the Valencia street circuit. Now, Valencia was the host of the European Grand Prix. There was such a thing. It's a European Grand Prix. And they hosted it in Valencia because there was a whole like Alonso craze happening. And there was already a Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona. So they can't have two Grand Prix in the same country and call it, Spanish Grand Prix 1 and Spanish Grand Prix 2.
Right.
So one of them had to be called something different. And the Valencia one, which was a street circuit, or at least most of it was a street circuit, got the name of the European Grand Prix. Alonso actually won that race back in 2012 or 2014, one of the two. It's a home victory, whatever it was. I think it was 2014 actually. It was a good moment, or 2012. Anyway, the last sector of it turns out was actually a purpose-built part of the track, and if you go there today, it's like a derelict, but it still looks like a track. Did you see that?
I saw the pictures.
Yeah. It looks so bizarre, man. And so the old sponsorship is still there, like barely visible because of the sun or whatever. Like the UBS sign has almost like you can tell that it's there, but sometimes you know what I mean. Like and it's a ridiculous endeavor where things just didn't work. And it was done to kind of try to like bring some audiences, but it was never exciting. Not a single race there except for maybe that last one that they had. But an overwhelming majority of the races that were held there were quite boring. You'd agree with that, right? And that was a circuit that happened because of a short-sighted decision to go to where the money was, not necessarily to think it through.
Right. Well, in terms of like how the drivers would find the track or the fans would find the track.
Yeah, all of it, everything. Right. There's so many, and this is the problem, man. There's so many stakeholders in something like as global and as big as F1 that you can't ignore one part. You can't just go and say, oh, this makes sense because of the money. But if it doesn't make sense for the fans or, for the drivers or whatever, like you don't have, like, there's not enough foundations for it to work. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it has to work on all accounts. It has to be spectacular, and it has to have, a new track, for example. Let's say we're off out there into the world to try to find a new track. It has to be good for the sport, good for the fans. It has to make it has to make financial sense.
Yeah.
And it has to be like available enough. And once you satisfy all those prerequisites, then you can have a race that will work and that will be sustainable. Like somehow they figured it out for Singapore.
Yeah. Well, being the new Las Vegas.
Well, no, Macau is.
Macau, oh, right.
But it's right around there.
It's similar.
Yeah. There's still quite a bit of gambling that happens in Singapore. They have that hotel that has like the boat at the top.
Oh yeah.
Look it up. That's it's called the Singapore Marina Bay Sands.
Marina Bay Sands.
Marina Bay Sands. Yeah, and look at the images.
Oh my
God. That thing, right?
I feel like every time I see this, like I always forget I've seen this picture. Sorry, I'll throw it up on top there. But yeah, holy mackerel.
Yeah.
As I said last week, when the
polar
ice caps melt.
That's a Sands hotel. It's part of the same chain that has the Sands in Las Vegas, but it's clearly bigger here.
Yeah,
except when the polar ice caps melt, and Singapore is cast under the ocean forever, the roof of that building will detach and float away.
So wait, it's an actual functioning boat.
It is. It's a full-size cruise ship. Yeah. All inclusive too.
Oh,
it only goes around in circles though.
You see the curve shape. The curve shape. It just goes left in circles. But
cool.
That's all you need. It's a beautiful.
Vince
trip to.
Vince says that no, he brought up the Las Vegas track. Because we had actually been talking about the Las Vegas track and we mentioned it when it came out. Apparently Vince, at least from what I read, that was all just Bernie being Bernie, and when he wants to negotiate a deal with a country like he did with Italy, he like brings up other players and he starts talking to other people like the Bari Grand Prix or Imola or whatever, and give him hopes to try to like start a bidding war. So the Las Vegas Grand Prix, as good as an idea as that sounds, honestly, I don't know. Like I'm worried that sometimes we come across as people that don't want any more Grand Prix in the States, but that's not at all true.
Yeah.
Grand Prix and as more in North America as there can be as possible. Honestly, as more Grand Prix, period.
I think the Jersey track, the Vegas track, both seem great.
Either one. Like I'd love to go to either one of them.
Circuit of the Americas, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it already.
Yeah, but the Vegas track, the reason behind it is that there were people in California interested about F1. But not interested enough to give enough money to replace the Austin Grand Prix. Because as much as the Austin Grand Prix is in financial trouble, they're still bringing in the numbers. Right. And
didn't they drop like $300 or $400 million on building that circuit?
That's the thing, and because they thought about it as a long-term investment. That's all we heard. Remember, before the race happened, they were thinking this race is good. This track is going to be here, like basically till the end of the century, and that's what they were planning for, and they built for it, and they built a great track that worked.
They did. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll talk about that track when we get there. But I love it. Yeah, definitely more races in North America, for sure.
Here's no, well, not necessarily, but I'd be down.
One more, at least one more. One more is good.
Mike, could you pull up this link that I put like near the bottom of the first page? Kyalami.
Yep.
Can somebody, like, if somebody in the chat, somebody that's listening to us right now, does anybody know how to pronounce the name of this track? Kyalami, the South African one. Kyalami.
I don't
Mike,
know.
take a stab at that.
Hakuna Matata?
Yeah, right.
Kyalami.
So we had been talking about Let's
yeah, we talked about this a few weeks ago. There was
Kyalami.
Yeah, whatever, the K track. We've been talking about this K South African track for a while. That they were actually like building it up,
the whole track.
Oh yeah, and no, but not only that, they did the kind of stuff that Bernie wanted them to do, like completely redo the media centers and the buildings for people and like the paddock club or whatever. Go down because there's a good this gallery. Check it out, because these people like there's no way that you do this amount of work and you're not serious about turning this track into an F1 track. Keep going, man. Like,
oh wow,
honestly, we're talking about they spend some money. Now, this is the historical...
Canada GP will never look like this.
No way. but it's that.
Oh my god.
That should also be right.
Kwalami. Vince says Kwalami. I think.
Oh, it's a Kwalami.
Kwalami. Well, why don't they just spell it like that? Christ.
But look how nice this is gonna look. This is now, right? So they put some serious dough. There's no way that they're not that they're doing this without thinking of F1 in the future, and there is demand.
It's so nice there. They didn't even need to put windows on the main floor. There was open to the outside.
But look at this track, and that already
There's a
looks
circuit
like a
within
badass
a circuit.
track.
Yeah, this looks cool.
And
you see
actually,
the circuit within it.
If you see here, they have the sprinklers. So they have like a whole auto testing facility. They built this thing to be sustainable. If they're clearly serious about this thing lasting for a while, and some of the craziest races back in Gilles Villeneuve, Jody Scheckter's days happen here.
Oh, really?
This is a track.
Oh, so it's an old track.
This is a historic track.
Whoa!
So it already has that. It already has that appeal of being, and it's close. Jesus, I don't know if it's it's close enough to one of the big cities in South Africa. Let me look it up.
But yeah, we talked about this circuit a few weeks ago, maybe closer to 2 months ago, that they had been planning on doing this work. I guess it's being done now. Very quickly.
Pretoria. It's just outside Pretoria, which is the capital of... A lot of people think that Johannesburg. No. Pretoria.
That's not where the aliens landed in that great sci-fi movie took place.
That's right. So it's just on the outskirts of Pretoria. So it's a big enough city to attract, to be nice enough to go to. Like if you're looking at it from a strict tourism perspective, it'll bring tourism. It'll bring the attention, and they clearly are spending some money. So I cannot wait for this track to get FIA Grade 1. So there are Grade 2 now that they just got.
What do they need to make it a Grade 1?
Probably more safety stuff, having just having more grandstands, having more facilities.
Right.
It has to do with the facilities, and if there's some dangerous turns, they'll have to add some runoffs to it, or et cetera, et cetera. So Tilke still has enough chance to fuck this up, but.
Oh man.
Looking at the outside of the circuit, it looks like the runoffs have been built.
Yeah.
Hopefully
you
that's
see,
close to enough to reach Grade 1.
Yeah. I think
except for maybe medical facility, and
it might be on the
stuff.
Small side, right?
Yeah, it might be small stuff.
But if that's trouble, if that's actually worrying you, there's this plot of land they can play around with, right? Right? Am I right?
Well, what if someone owns that?
Is that theirs?
They'll
make it work. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is that what that head nod means?
Yeah. With the promise of F1, that seems to move mountains.
Yeah.
Trust me. The promise of having a good race. No, but I'd love to see a race in South Africa, and I know that it's not a great percentage of you guys, but it's surprising enough. What does StatsCan call it? A visible minority. There's a visible minority of you out there that watch us from South Africa, and that reflects, as far as I've researched, that reflects an actual interest in the world at large. If you look at the Google Trends of where Formula One searches are coming from, there is still quite a bit of interest from South Africa, and I am sure that it's sort of the same way that there's a lot of interest coming from the Scandinavian countries. It's people that have had in decades past a history in F1, and then maybe the new generations are starting to get reacquainted with that history.
Maybe their grandkids or themselves. They're like, oh, some of these new guys look cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll check out some races.
Yeah.
Looking at these young kids.
A comment is like, "Whoa, wait, that looks like the Indian F1 track so much."
Kind of.
I think
it kind
I
of
found
does.
a picture of it. Is this?
You can pull up
The Buddha? Yeah.
the Bud circuit.
Yeah, that looks really interesting.
It was a good circuit. It's just, unfortunately, they couldn't make it work. There
It was
too
kind of
much.
like too far away
What, that
from
1 billion people didn't.
There was too much corruption that got involved in it.
Too far away from the main cities.
Yeah, and too far away from main city.
Two main cities. I think it was like kind of in the middle of them. It's far, they're just in the middle of nowhere. Desert area.
It almost like failed for the same reason that what was it? The Turkish Grand Prix failed.
Okay.
Right, like it's like sort of the same thing. Like it was kind of close, but not close enough to a major city. Istanbul Park wasn't, and same with Delhi, and the Buddha circuit. Both great circuits, and I think that with both of those, with the Buddha circuit and Istanbul Park, Tilke got it right.
Yeah.
But you can't have just a great track, man. It has to be everything.
Everything has to be there.
Everything.
I love that the corner 10 and 11 there, where it's kind of like NASCAR-ish almost. It's like a banked corner.
Oh yeah, man.
This
This track actually
circuit
led for
was
some
pretty
great
cool.
racing.
Yeah, it was really cool. That's corner 10, 11. See if you can find a picture of that, or if you can even show a video that we can see. Well, I guess the video game, but whatever. Throw it up. This way we won't get taken down off YouTube.
Oh, look at those graphics. Oh yeah.
2013. Oops. Yeah, this race, it only lasted 2 years or something. Maybe it was 3. I think it was only 2 though. And just not like Jay just said, not enough people showed up. It was corruption came into it. Some government bullshit. It was too far from the main cities.
Oh. What is this driver doing? He's
They
got the
have
racing lines and
this
everything.
tabletop turn here. Watch, look at this. This turn goes up, and then hard like a square right.
Oh.
It was like going up on the table, super long straightaway. Straight. Open the DRS. Keep going straight. And brake hard turn here.
This was a great track. I just wish all Tilke tracks were as good as these.
Look at this where it's coming up to.
There's one topic recently on Reddit that really caught my attention because we sort of had Danny, you and I and Peter had sort of been talking about this.
F1 at Betty's?
No.
That is a bank right there. Was that the one you were talking about?
Very cool court. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
No, this was a very cool track, man.
And then this uphill here, left, right.
Somebody posted a topic on Reddit recently, basically asking if F1 advertising actually influences your purchases. and some of the answers that came out of that, like I thought were pretty interesting, but I thought
I just
that we could
skipped right over that.
Yeah, that we can have a crack at, like, okay, come on. I think that for myself, I mean, we clearly, at least even on live to YouTube on this show, on this here show, many a times have been drinking Red Bull and Heineken. So at least on that part, we're like, we are affected by F1 sponsorship.
We made a drink called Downforce.
Yeah, exactly. That is Red Bull and Heineken, right? But like outside of that, like it's hard to think that I look at that Rolex sign and I
want to
think of it. You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
it's
What percentage of F1 fans has a
DHL,
Rolex?
DHL, even though it's available in Canada, like you can go to a DHL depot here, they're not, just simply because they're not as frequent as either FedEx or UPS. You just go to UPS, or if you had some sort of parcel to be mailed, right? Like, and it's not gonna influence my opinion on DHL or not, unless I had to send something to Germany, perhaps, right? Like, if I had to send somebody to Germany, maybe I'd consider DHL because I know they're German, and that would be like the only reason why, right? Otherwise, I'd just go to one at the corner.
There's like all kinds of just shipping brokerage sites too, where you just like cheapest package to Germany.
Yeah.
And then they just give you the best rate.
The Rexona deodorant, that like cracked me up. Vince.
The TV commercials on Sky.
Oh man.
With
Sure.
the Martin brother.
It won't let you down.
It won't let you down.
Like, I'm sure that kind of shit works for like, yeah, for things that are cheap, under $5 stuff. If you can get it for like less than $5, I might make, and sometimes I actually know that I have made the conscious decision to get a Red Bull instead of like any other energy drink, because I was like, you know what? They have an F1 team. The other guys don't. So all right. Right? But
how does Monster not have a monster truck?
but yeah, right? But
Unless they do, and I'm just not aware of it.
But listen, I'm not gonna go like it's, I'm still waiting for my Ferrari. Was one of the comments was I think the stop comment, or I'm still waiting for when I can buy my Ferrari. Yeah, a lot of the advertising in F1 just it's not geared towards maybe the average F1 viewer.
It's not.
But this is what we've been saying, man. That so F1 right now, up until this point, before digital distribution happened or became a possibility now with the whole Liberty deal, you were stuck. If you're Bernie Ecclestone, you pretty much put in a position where if you want to get the most money out of this advertising, then you start selling your advertising to whoever would pay the most. And a lot of these big
Fly Emirates.
Fly Emirates, right, yeah. I don't know why, but
the average F1 watcher, the average viewer, is not flying Emirates.
No, I know, but
He's not wearing a Rolex. He's not driving Ferraris.
no, but you do it. So you do it in this situation because these are static ads that nobody can change, right?
Yeah.
So everybody has to watch it. So as long as enough of a small percentage of the population that is watching it uses your service or whatever, and especially if you have a premium service like Rolex or a premium product, something in the luxury,
Emirates,
like
Emirates airline,
right? Then you're making your money back, right? It makes sense in terms of that point of view, but
we'll get you there for double the price.
What actually makes the most sense is if you could advertise 1,000 million tiny, local, yet relevant companies to people like us. That is actually the power of turning to digital. Because in digital,
turn all these to green screens.
Why not? Like, you tell me that that's not going to make more money than the current model.
Yeah,
if instead of trackside advertising, you just have trackside space that you can digitally overlay ads upon.
Yeah. Like at this point, they don't even have to be green anymore. Because if all the cameras are stationary, you can easily now calculate.
That's what they do with football, North America, and this is what people have been saying.
They do it on the runoffs of these circuits as well.
Right now, it's been used to like say stupid shit from Bernie to like somebody that's jerking off. Like the Austrian Grand Prix, he's like, oh here, what's his name? Like Mateschitz here. Oh, great job, and oh, we're so glad to be in Mexico. Like, that's what's being used for right now, instead of using it properly.
Yeah. That's going to end.
Did you guys see that commercial with Bernie in it? Did we talk about that last week?
No, what?
There was a Heineken commercial.
With Bernie in it.
I
did not see that. Find it. Can you try to find it while we keep talking?
Pull it up.
Yeah, shit. I'm not sure if we can show it. Oh my god, how did you guys not see this?
No, I did not see that. What?
I laughed my ass off.
Is it like this?
Oh man.
Give me another Heineken.
Oh, Vince Labera. He's Dutch. we have a significant viewership from the Netherlands. Should we bring this up more often? Thanks, people from the Netherlands. We like you. We saved you during World War II. You owe us.
You're not from Canada.
I know.
No.
You're a fucking monster. Oh my god. Such a piece of shit. Like, I'm barely from Canada.
Yeah.
Both my parents moved from Germany to be in Canada. I can't even say
you pretzel eating Nazi is what you are.
That is racist.
You know who I was learning about yesterday? Who's also from the Netherlands? Bas Rutten.
Oh, there it is. Wow.
What?
Yeah, don't worry about it. He was one of those wrestlers.
Oh, okay. But anyway.
Pancreas fake wrestling.
It's I can't help but go back to like how hopeful really like we are about this Liberty deal, man. Because it's sort of like the culmination of I think it's fan power, man. Like and I know that now we can start saying this kind of shit because it's been an hour and 50 minutes of this podcast, and if people are still listening, you must be true fans. But now I'm gonna start like setting it straight right now. This is why people have hope on the Liberty deal. It's because we don't know what's gonna happen. It could be bad. It could be good for F1. But we'll deal with that and we'll complain about that when the time is right. But for now,
Chase Carey seems very polite.
Right.
Seems like a very polite gentleman. Darth Malone knows the Force. I would look out. Anyone close to him,
Yeah.
be careful.
No, seriously. Like I think that these guys, in between the two of them, they have the right mentality to like. They're at least thinking in the right way about digital audiences. And
Yes.
that can only spell good news for F1. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to find this thing. I know I watched it. Anyone in the chat, if you guys know what I'm talking about, send me a link or in the chat or an email or something like that, because this thing is.
If you get to it, actually, whatever. Like it's
No,
as good a time
to
as any
watch.
other to like start of ending the show. Now at this point, I want to bring another reminder about F1 at Betty. So this weekend, yet again, if you're in the Toronto area,
Singapore Grand Prix, 3 p.m. Come check out the
Betty's
race pre-show.
Betty's is in downtown Toronto, well, downtown-ish, at King and Sherbourne. You can get to it very easily via the DVP. Listen,
just
if
King East.
if you're worried about parking and finding parking, just send us an email. I can hook you up with parking.
Don't worry about that stuff.
Yeah, there's especially on Sunday, like parking in downtown is really you can park literally like just on the street outside of the bar.
Very public transit. It's accessible. Come out. It's always a good time. It's clearly going to be a great time this weekend. We've had a lot of positive feedback so far. 50% off nachos, 50% off wings. Come on, come all.
Yeah.
If you're anywhere near Toronto for the World Cup of Hockey or whatever is happening in town, whatever, come to watch the F1 instead. We'll be waiting for you this Sunday.
Sunday
at Betty's.
afternoon, we'll be there. At Betty's.
What else do we got? Oh,
Munching some suicide wings.
I don't know if you guys are on social media and if you guys want to support us, we sent an application to this new endeavor at Drive Tribe.
Drive
That
Tribe?
Drive Tribe that Hammond, Clarkson, Hammond, and May are starting up. If you wanna, you don't have to. You don't even have to do anything about this. But if you'd be willing to see us on Drive Tribe, go onto their Twitter and mention us. I'm sure it'll go a long way.
Thank you very much for your support.
Cheers, and see you guys next week at some point, either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Hopefully see you Sunday, first of all,
Oh, yeah.
for the race.
And DJ, you can play us out.
Oh shit.
See you guys.
So you guys, thanks very much for watching.
But she has like that, so she's her 81 upvotes for Betty's. Checked Rava's numbers for his podcast. Since then, it's basically been going like kind of steadily down. And this is what I was saying to you, Mike. Even if we like contact those video game